Travis Wayne Goodsell. I have the most awesomest subscribers ever in the universe. If you think you've got subscribers and you do a channel, nah, yours are nothing compared to mine. Thank you, David, for the Doctrine and Covenants 111 video. So it'll help me with this one. So, with the bombshell. Of all bombshells, confirming exactly what I've been telling you about, as the plot to overthrow the United States as well as the world, confirmed by Brigham Young's own words himself in talking about his claim of what Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery had done. And we should bring it up, shouldn't we? June 17th, 1877, right before he dies, of all things. Dear God. Alright, so my brethren and sisters, deplorable, I guess it is up near the top, isn't it? Yep. Yeah. It's under the paragraph, you hear a great deal said about finding money. And there is some clues here, of which I've already gone over with you, Heber C. Kimball under Masonry, of the clues, to say the least, that he exposes, because he thought that the Canandaigua Lodge was burned along with all the records of memberships and his application that was approved where Joseph Smith Sr. was the Master Mason. And so here we have Brigham Young after the murder of Joseph Smith, and it's pretty much a deathbed confession that yes, Brigham Young is involved with Heber C. Kimball to overthrow the United States and the world leaders with his talk about Joseph Smith and the Cave of Plates. If only I would have known what I know now back then when I first heard it in seminary by a seminary teacher who thought it was cool to give us additional information not in the manual. Because the regular lessons are boring. We need to be excited about the church. And so he talks about the sword of Laban. And I guess let me read the whole thing, the whole part. It's where Oliver Cowdery went with Joseph Smith, with the prophet Joseph, when he deposited the plates. Joseph did not translate all of the plates. There was a portion of them sealed, which you can learn from the Book of Doctrine and Covenants. When Joseph got the plates, see the seal, commentary after. When Joseph got the plates, the angel instructed him to carry them back to the hill Cumorah, which he did. Oliver says that when Joseph and Oliver went there, the hill opened, and they walked into a cave, in which there was a large and spacious room. He says he did not think at the time whether they had the light of the sun or artificial light, but that it was just as light as day. The light bulb is artificial light. What are you talking? Fire? Fire is not artificial light. Hold on a second. Huh. Not for another 2 years. Thomas Edison patented it in 1879, and then a year later in 1880, and began commercializing the incandescent light bulb. What are you talking about, artificial? I do not understand, Sam I am. Good old days when it would clear up after 3 minutes of doing a video. So, okay. So I was supposed to do commentary after. Oops, my bad. You have to forgive me now. With an artificial light, but that it was just as light as day. They laid the plates on a table. It was a large table that stood in the room. Under this table there was a pile of plates as much as 2 feet high, and there were altogether in this room more plates than probably many wagon loads. They were piled up in the corners and along the walls. The first time they went there, the sword of Laban hung upon the wall. But when they went again, it had been taken down and laid upon the table across the gold plates. It was unsheathed. Tom Cruise also did a samurai movie. Was it Ronin? Was that the name of it? And that also, it's talked about how you can't pull out unless you're going to shed blood. So that's what this, no commentary at the end. And on it was written these words: "This sword will never be sheathed again until the kingdoms of this world become the kingdom of our God and his Christ." Commentary. I tell you this as coming not only from Oliver Cowdery, but others who were familiar with it, and who understood it just as well as we understand coming to this meeting. Who? Commentary time. I've gone over with you church history, the real church history, that not even ex-Mormons know. See, ex-Mormons know about a rock and a hat, but they can't figure out who wrote the Book of Mormon, whether it was Joseph Smith with his rock and a hat, or Sidney Rigdon, who's the major author according to linguistic science. Stuff like that confuses them. And so the 116 pages, well, Joseph used his rock and a hat, but Joseph Smith Sr. had dreams of the tree of life. And so ex-Mormons are confused. Come on, guys, watch my channel. Be as awesome as my subscribers. I dare you. And so the Egyptian gold plates, not golden, don't fall into that trap by the church, have to do with Senior Canandaigua as a Yorkite Mason. Yorkites Mason. And at the highest rank of the Yorkites Mason, this is pre-1826. Don't mix it with today's stuff. 1826 shattered Freemasonry. And so the Freemasonry that recovered is more liberal. It's the Knights Templar. Yeah, your Da Vinci Code, your National Treasure. Yeah, but that's Hollywood alteration, like Disney doing to all of the old original stories that they get their movies from. And so I've been telling you the real story is confirmed with Joseph Smith and his story. And the Knights Templar, Friday the 13th, Holy Grail, Bloodline, Human Christ, to America, New Jerusalem, Kensington Stone, purchasing, section 103, the land where southern Illinois is, the crossroads of the first and last days of darkness of the latter days, the first day of the latter days, or the first year of the latter days and the last year of the latter days, signified with solar eclipses. And in southern Illinois, just did the video, thanks to my awesome subscriber, and then David, by the way, too. A whole bunch of Salems. I provided the links for you. And Salem Road is X marks the spot, which is pretty cool. And so, yes, everybody, especially those not Mormon, all know about this. And Brigham Young here, too, is saying he also knows, just as Heber C. Kimball knew. And so, yes, the cave of gold plates is Knights Templar lore. And Brigham says it's the Hill Cumorah. This is all hearsay. On his deathbed year. and he's confessing he knows all about it. But tells his audience of Danites who came from the Scottish Rites, who are the cause of September 11th, 9/11, 1826. The Illuminati infiltrated the Scottish Rites Masonry and confirmed by church history, real LDS church history. And I've been going over that with you. That's why Brigham Young put the inverted pentagram of Lucifer, the deity for the Illuminati, on the temple, the Nauvoo Temple, the Salt Lake Temple, and the Logan Temple. This is why the Nauvoo Temple was dedicated When it was finished in January, he was already using it. He did his second anointing where he makes himself king in January. And the year before, he started up the Council of 50. As Joseph Smith is running, well, it's actually 1844 for the Council of 50, wasn't it? But Brigham Young did it. That was his anti-government to overthrow America. To help Joseph win the election, but, yeah, he'll have all of his Danite converts, as he'll be the anti-government to overthrow it. And turns out that Joseph Smith was not cooperating properly, and so they had to murder him. And it was Brigham Young's intention to raise up an army, thus polygamy. You have more kids that way, and get them to the age of 21 at a much quicker pace, to raise up an army to go up against the United States of America. And the United States of America kept shutting them down. And so I've gone over with you all of his attempts to possess the land, to build up an army, and the United States stopped it, prevented it, slowed it. Mountain Meadows Massacre, for example, to keep settlers out of Brigham's land. And so finally the United States of America, the year John Taylor died, shut down the church for good. The criminal operation gone from the face of the earth. And so when Heber C. Kimball incorporates, as I've told you, it was all about making money. Now they were going to pay for the destruction of the United States of America and the world governments. And so when Nelson gets up and announces the temples, and the final one in a major city yet to be determined in Russia. Well, they already have one in Russia if it was pre-breakup. Ukraine, Kiev. Yeah. Nelson was announcing he had paid Russia for the war of the latter days. Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38. Bruce R. McConkie is the one who made the chapter heading. He knows all about it. And so here in this book, Way to Perfection, the one that destroyed my life, as apparently the property manager, by refusing to fix the laundry, which is the wiring that needs to be fixed, I'm not able to do laundry today because new property management. Yeah, bugs are starting to crawl around because, the bug guy didn't come as scheduled, etc., etc., etc. They all destroyed me under orders of the church, and then quit. Walked away. So new people are in, and so who knows how long I have. But I have no money to do laundry. Church destroyed me. So I can't do laundry unless the laundry gets fixed. And it's a schedule. So I won't be able to do laundry until Friday. Will it get fixed? he knows, the new property manager knows I don't have money. So you can see the abuse that has been done to me because of what I know and am sharing with you. And so, yes, the church has got a new plan. Instead of raising up a royal army of elders to destroy the world, like Hitler, they instead became filthy rich to buy a stairway to hell. And they call it a stairway to hell. Probably one of the best songs ever. And so you can see this in his description here. He knows about the Knights Templar. He's Scottish Rites. He's Illuminati, just like Heber. And so notice, they don't give it to the angel. They put it back in the room, on the table. Well, yeah. But you see Aladdin in this. The Cave of Wonders, with all the treasure. And you're only supposed to get the lamp that grants you 3 wishes, and you're supposed to free the genie, not be greedy. And the Aladdin story, I guess, has been around for a while. Because Disney, 1712 predates the version published in 1712, according to time.com. But though those tales were of medieval origin, Aladdin may be a more recent invention. Scholars have not found a manuscript of the story that predates the version published in 1712 by Galland, who wrote in his diary that he first heard the tale from a Syrian storyteller from Aleppo named Hannah Diab on May 8, 1709. So it was one of those oral stories passed down, and Galad is the one who turned it into a fiction book. But fascinating. And so that story would have been known. Here Brigham Young is using it, mixing it with Joseph Smith. And so let's see. Because, if you national treasure, the treasure is too great for one man. That's their take on it. Chaucer with King Arthur in the search for the Holy Grail, the Round Table and the Knights of the Round Table. That also, though of Knights Templar origin, illusion, not illusion, is about the latter days. It's scripture. It will be a part of the restored scripture, assuming we survive and the great and abominable church doesn't destroy us all and win. But apparently, Mormons want the great and abominable church to win, and sacrifice their lives. So the great and abominable church will win and hand over their little 12-year-old daughters to the creepy old prophets of the great and abominable church for polygamy. Have you even had this talk with your daughters yet? So, dear, you're 10 years old now. In 2 years, the millennium will begin, and the great and abominable church will win, and they will take you as their 12-year-old bride. Now, we're going to prepare you for this, so we're going to have the talk. Have you had that talk yet? Do you not think it's going to happen? I've been warning you about the war, and it just began yesterday. And so today is day 2, and we're getting to that. You need to have the talk. If you are not going to resist the church, that's why I put the little thing here. The 3 R's, and I did that video for you about the 3 R's. And they are French words. Macron. He's going to talk with Putin. And it has to do with today, from the Roman through the French. But, okay, and so you can see that he's not wanting to do the almond thing, but he's, hinting at it, about the mortal bloodline, the human bloodline of the Holy Grail, referring to the Son, from Emmanuel of Isaiah. Amen, God. God Amen, that's his name, Son God. It's not God with us. Get that out of here, Matthew. And, let's see. And so him throwing in artificial light, that's weird. Almost trying to diminish the human, insult the human of the future. That is going to be through your organization, Brigham. It's coming through you, Joseph Smith said. But they laid the plates, so yeah, they did put it in the table. So it's not back in the little rock casing at the top of the hill that didn't exist. It was in the cave that opened up like the lion's mouth. And notice it is a lion for Judah, Utah. And who would have known that the sun god would also be a descendant of the Arabian Nights? Isn't that interesting? That's an exclusive thing for you that I just threw in. And because I haven't done that video for you yet. Let's see. And so, yeah, Knights Templar, gold plates all over the place, many wagon loads. Brought it on ships to America and came to southern Illinois, not the Hill Cumorah. But he's tying it to tell them in code, because he knows that Joseph Smith did his history in this same manner, as I've been telling you and teaching you about. And so, then we get to the Sword of Laban. Sword of Laban, obviously from the Book of Mormon. Nephi goes to get the brass plates, which is the fulfillment of Ezekiel 37. So we'll bring that up for you here. Right before Ezekiel 38, Gog and Magog. Alibaba. And so again, the Lord is calling Ezekiel, and there's the L at the end for God, Son of Man. And talking about the bones in the western desert of Egypt, the Valley of the Kings, and talking about resurrection, which is the restoration of the church of the 18th dynasty of Egypt in the Valley of the Kings, the descendants of Dawood, David Moses, the 18th dynasty, and because David is talked about after the plates. And notice Jesus, not Emmanuel, comes to America and is with Nephi, not Moroni, and talks about the name of God, the Lamanite. Where are his records? He talked about the graves opening. See where we're going here? See what's the connection with all of this? Take thee one stick, write upon it, no, scrolls, in case you didn't know. And there's something about a flying roll that we all laugh as kids in seminary. Alright, even the stick of Joseph and the stick of Judah. So Joseph became the second of all Egypt under David Moses IV. He's the one with the dream Stella. Stella! And Judah, Utah, the David line for the Jews. And so the books are supposed to become one, which means the stick of Judah being incorrectly translated, even in the Hebrew, needs to be restored to its Egyptian origin of Joseph. And the brass plates, sure enough, Egyptian brass plates, stick of Joseph, stick of Judah, combined together into one book. That's the brass plates. That's what this is referring to. And sure enough, they even talk about Ezekiel 37 in the Book of Mormon. 2 Nephi 3, in fact, where Joseph is to be the foundation Christ, the founder of the Church of Christ, for which the Mormons will reject him, and out of the great and abominable church will come the last days capstone Christ, the restoring Christ, the descendant of David, through the Holy Grail bloodline of Joseph Sr., through Hiram, the one who's murdered, Hiram of Biff, as well as being murdered in real life. That's the Freemasonry ceremony. Hiram of Biff is murdered at Solomon's Temple. And so it's a murder mystery, who done it, and the Freemasons are to keep the secret of the Holy Grail, the human bloodline for the last days Messiah in the New Jerusalem in America, in southern Illinois, where the first and last days of darkness cross. Little Egypt. Egypt Lake. Alright, and 24. And David my servant shall be king over them. That's not his name, it's Emmanuel, sun god. But David, the two deltas combined together is the Star of David for the sun. Not the inverted pentagram, not even a star. The sun at noonday for Amen. Right there with the combination of the Paleo-Hebrew letters or Greek letters, depending on which language you want to use, which script. They're both the same. Greeks added some extra stuff, like the psi. Psi! For psychos. And so, yeah, and they shall have one shepherd. So there's the shepherd associated with lambs, lambas, Lambert. And there's Jacob. Oh, Jacob the usurper. Alright, shall be their prince forever. Everlasting covenant. So yeah, we just went through the thigh, and now we're on the countdown. The falling moon. Okay? And so, with the sword of Laban over the brass plates is the fulfillment of the covenant of the brass plates for the latter days of the bloodline Christ to restore Joseph's church. Brigham Young, however, he's going to destroy, murder, death, kill John Spartan, Demolition Man. Because he quotes from Revelation. Let's see. Joseph Smith translation of Revelation, in fact. Let's see. Hung on the wall, and when they went back, it was now across the gold. Oh, okay. It's across the gold plates, the Book of Mormon. That's even more significant, because the Book of Mormon is the warning to America about the threat of Brigham Young. And this is why I don't understand why the church just doesn't say, Book of Mormon? What Book of Mormon? I don't know of any Book of Mormon. Do you guys? I don't know any Book of Mormon. Nope. But instead, it's like they think nobody will dare to molest or make them afraid. The United States shut them down. Heber J. Grant kept it going. He took out lectures on faith, but keeps the Book of Mormon. Very weird. It's like, guys, what are you doing? The Book of Mormon exposes you. What are you doing? Some guy named Travis Wayne Goodsell is going to come along, do his research, and figure it out. And then we'll tell Mormons through YouTube channels, for which nobody will believe, but the church will catch on. They'll understand what Travis is doing and recognize the threat that he poses to them, if there are anybody who will listen. And they will have to have YouTube employees who censor and silence him and shut down Travis Wayne Goodsell during all this time as the war has begun, as the church has already been exposed as having paid for it. And so the sword will never be unsheathed, or never be sheathed again. Again, the samurai thing. Once you unsheath it, you have to draw blood before you can sheath it again. And so samurai are taught not to treat that lightly. Don't just pull it out for every little thing. Pull it out when you must, because you must draw blood. That's what Brigham Young is talking about here. It says this sword will never be sheathed again until the kingdoms of this world become the kingdom of Deseret, our God and his Christ. Adam on Diamond, a secret meeting where Lucifer hands over the keys of all the governments to the one true church, Brigham Young's kingdom of Deseret. But the United States shut him down, and so he couldn't do it by bloodshed now. He has to hire mercenaries, and he knows exactly the mercenaries to do it with. The Book of Mormon even tells us. The people of Magog. according to Christian interpretation. The Russians. So yes, the church and Putin have been bestest buddies, and I'm sure there's lots of P-tapes. For which I do not want to see. And so he then says, I tell you, who's in the audience, and they're Danites. They're not loyalists to Joseph. Those who survived didn't go with Brigham, except for those who were taken hostage in polygamy and those who were related to those taken in polygamy. I tell you this as coming not only from Oliver Cowdery, but others who were familiar with it and who understood it just as well as we understand coming to this meeting. He's speaking in code there, just like Russell M. Nelson in conference saying, Babylon's banned. He knew what he was doing. So, today is Tuesday, Mardi, Mercredi, Samedi, Dimanche. Yes, Tuesday is the Viking Anglo-Saxon Ter for the Vikings, Teu for the Anglo-Saxon god of war. The Romans' god of war is Mars, and so it's Mardi in France, and Spanish has a similar Marte, I'm guessing. And then there's Italian, Martedì. But the sign in the heavens, Joseph Smith translation. Yeah, we didn't cover that, did we? Oops. All right, we can do the. Oh, seriously? It's Joseph Smith translation. Revelation 12:1. And there appeared a great sign in heaven in the likeness of things on the earth. This is a principle that they're using here. Signs in the heavens for things on the earth. Brigham Young understood this, talking about the Christ of the York Rites Knights Templar. They know the date. A woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, upon her head a crown of 12 stars. 9 originally in Judah, Utah, Leo, the lion. The woman, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And Joseph Smith, Sidney Rigdon, and Senior, working on the retranslation, moved verse 5 to verse 3. So now, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with the Book of Mormon. The iron rod is the word of God. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Oh, that's in 1 Nephi chapter 1. Lehi has a dream of a sign in the heavens, and there it is. 23rd September 2017, a month after the first day of darkness, on Monson's birthday. It's amazing how he was born on that day. That's weird, because the Illuminati Brighamites could not have planned that. There's no way they could have planned that. Now, maybe they were looking for a man who would qualify as an apostle who had that birthday. But they couldn't have said, Brother and Sister Monson, we need you to have a baby on this, you need to conceive on this date at this time, so that the child will then be born on this date. There's just no way I could see them doing that. But watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days, maybe. And maybe Monson was as a baby was fed the blood of a snake. And has the Omega symbol birthmark. Do you think the family would let us see to find out? But who took over? Russell M. Nelson. Russell Mars Nelson. Today. Because the night, 10:01 p.m., when Thomas S. Monson died, according to Brigham Young's revised Quorum of the 12 and succession, because he has to keep that succession going, because he had to claim it to get it, which he didn't have it. That wasn't the process, but he has to maintain it to justify it. The president of the Quorum of the 12 becomes the president of the church. And because of the tetrad in 2014-2015, which Joseph Smith talks about with John the Baptist coming, I do the videos, guys, for a reason. And so I don't want to have to say like and subscribe below. I've been doing this for years. If you're just now finding my channel, blame YouTube. And so Nelson took over automatically. The sign in the heavens was Revelation chapter 4, or 12:4. Let's see. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. So there's 2022. Dragon stood before the woman which was delivered, ready to devour her child after it was born. March 17th, 2022, there will be a new star at the end of the cross of Cygnus, right there at the mouth of Draco the dragon. Astronomers know this. But that evening was the quadranted meteor showers at the tail of Draco the dragon. How did they know? And so falling stars, Lucifer, great and abominable church, the symbol of a falling star? How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Brigham Young put them on the Nauvoo Temple and on the Salt Lake Temple, which is now Zion. In case you didn't know, we're not going to Missouri if you're going to stick in this church. We're not even supposed to go to Missouri. 19 July 1840. We don't have that one because Joseph calls Brigham Young Judas, referring to the Last Supper, which has to do with the Last Supper of the Lamb, wedding feast at the Temple of Zion and New Jerusalem in southern Illinois. And so Mars, while this is going on, is at the top of the scales of Libra. And as the top of the scales, it is the judge of what gets weighed. So now we can go to the picture. For day 2. Yesterday, the moon was born as it's falling. It's waning, so it's falling. It's darkening. So day 2, top of the scales of Libra. Who's getting judged? Mars is getting judged. It's Tuesday, the day of Mars in the Roman or French or Spanish or Italian. And Mars is at the back end of Sagittarius in conjunction with Venus is the girl, the bride of Satan, Lucifer, and is portrayed as that falling star that fails to ascend to the sun at noonday because the sun, when it rises, blinds out Venus. The glory of Venus, she was bright this morning. My goodness. I was impressed at how bright she is. But once the sun comes up, gone. We cannot see her glory. So Moses and Lucifer, I don't see your glory. Why should I worship you? I'm the only begotten. Worship me. Throws a tantrum. Venus, both the bride and the symbol of Lucifer. The church, the great and abominable church. The Mormons, led by Nelson, who's right there in conjunction with them. And the moon is now judging them. Can you guess what the judgment's going to be? I told you, Ash Wednesday. Wednesday. And and so I'll keep doing this countdown. It's Woden, similar to the Roman god Mercury, a parallel. Mercury was a certain president, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, is it still him? Because he lost, as he claims he didn't, but there's still, he's coming back. There's a plot to put him back in next year with this year's election. But Putin, also a Mercury, one of the beasts, has already begun the war. And so, yeah, I could easily see how Wednesday is for Putin instead. assuming that's when he wants to do it. He does whatever he wants. And he's already got it scheduled, and despite the church having paid for it, he's the muscle. And that's the problem that the church is going to come across, is because they've paid to have America destroyed so that they can restore the kingdom of Deseret and call it Zion. But when you hire mercenaries, you get what you pay for. And they tend to want to stab you in the back and take what you have too, after you've paid them. And the church has a lot that they've been hoarding. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But prophecy is prophecy, and prophecy will happen as it happens. But we are witnessing prophecy being fulfilled in our lifetime here. I've been going over with it all this time, because now you know why these guys aren't.